let's talk about the roofing industry. We're approaching storm season. Let's start with what homeowners need to do as we're heading into storm season. Is there anything proactive that they can do? And then when we get into, when a storm hits, what do they need to look for? How do they know when to call you?
One thing I would do, even if your roof hasn't been hit with storms in recent years, it's always a good idea to get it inspected and get photos of that inspection. Make sure it's free. We do free inspections. There's plenty of companies out there that do free inspections, but it's always good to have that report. And a lot of times, all that report's going to show right now is your roof is fine. There's nothing wrong with it. The condition is good. But if you have anything going on like loose seals around your pipe jacks, the pipe boots need to be resealed or something minor like that, we can catch that. We wouldn't even charge anything for doing that. But also, it can show the condition of the roof, say on March 1st when you have the free inspection done. And then let's say that you get a big hailstorm a month later. Um, all that documentation is going to be good to have for your insurance company so you can go, look, this was March 1st. There was no damage. This is March 31st, and our roof has got crushed by this hailstorm.
That's a
So,
great point. Venturing as you're approaching that storm season, having documentation of, because insurance could go, well, how do we know that wasn't old damage? And how much that wasn't last year's storm and you just didn't fix it. And so
yeah.
you're saying you're creating that timeline to back up when that hailstorm or windstorm hits. Hey, we just had this inspected two months ago, a few weeks ago, and there was no damage there.
Yeah, it's kind of like and even when you've had a hailstorm, in some ways, it's almost like your roofing team that you hire is sort of like a legal team to where you want to have as much documentation and good documentation as possible. I don't want to make entire blanket statements about companies, but insurance companies are for-profit businesses, similar to a casino, to where, in a casino, the house always wins. So they're gonna protect their interests above yours. I don't care what their slogan says. I don't care what their commercials say. They are looking out for them, and hopefully they will take care of you along the way too. But we are ex-insurance adjusters. We know the insurance business inside and out. There's a lot of companies out there that I can't speak for all of them, but more documentation is always a good thing. You'll never be sorry that you have um, more documentation, even if it's an inspection at the beginning of hail season that shows there's no damage on your roof. That can be a really good thing to have in your pocket later.
A situation that we had a couple years ago. He came out for roof inspection during our option period. Pictures, scoped it out, said everything looked good, took all of the pictures that he normally does. Turns out foundation damage on that house. Seller fixed the foundation. Well, in the process, some things moved around. Some shingles started popping up, some rafters had shifted, and the seller and seller's agent denied and said that that damage was already there. Well, if we wouldn't have had that evidence ahead of time, came back out, took the same pictures, and we had them a case by case. So that's an exact example of why you want those inspections, whether it's when you're buying or just before storm season, periodically to make sure things are the way they're supposed to be, and then you've got that timeline worked out.
I think just piggybacking on that, like you go to the doctor every year for a well checkup, right? Well, your roof is no, at least once a year, you ought to have that roof checked out. And I know I can speak for us. There's a lot of roofing companies out there that are going to try to sell you something every time they get on your roof. They're going to get on it, and every time they get on it, they're going to tell you it's totaled. So it's important that you have a trusted roofer. But have that roof checked out at least once a year or even twice a year. That way you can catch uh, anything that might be going on. And the biggest thing that we find is like around pipe jacks, the pipe boot at the bottom, the sealant is worn off, or there's a gap, or it's concave, and so it's holding water when it rains. But just little stuff like that it'll turn into a big leak in the house, and then you've got sheetrock that's sagging, and that stuff can be fixed like that if somebody just is allowed to see it. But I would say by and large, there's way too many homeowners out there that they don't do any roof maintenance at all. They don't allow anybody to inspect the roof. They're completely unaware of what it looks like for big gaps. I mean, years and years at a time.
I'm guilty of that. And I think he brings up a good point because just because you didn't have a hailstorm or heavy wind season doesn't mean that there's not some sort of damage up there. You know, the Texas heat cracks that sealant and stuff over years. And like he was talking about, can allow those penetrations through. Um, also brings up a really good point about having a trusted roofer, because I was just talking with my insurance guy a few days ago, and he mentioned having someone that you trust in a roof, because if a roofer gets up there and says, all right, we've got a claim, and you file that claim and insurance denies it, that is now a claim on your record. Just because there wasn't any damage or anything, and that was something that I didn't realize until he
Yeah.
told me a few days ago. And he said, that is just like when you're car insurance, you file that claim for your windshield, that's a claim.
Yeah.
So don't do that.
Yeah.
So you better have a roofer that you trust, that knows the insurance process, is not just going to up there and go, hey, let's just see if we can get you a new roof. Because if you can't, if insurance doesn't agree, sticks on your record. Tommy, they call you. What's the next steps?
I'll just ask them any details that they have about when the storm hit. You know, if it's something that's local around here, most of the time, we're already going to know about it. But one thing I would do if you've got a storm going on is try to get some videos and pictures safely if you can. Even if it's just after the fact, go out and get some of the hailstones, take a picture, set a ruler next to them so you can kind of see, because again, that goes back to the documentation piece for the insurance company. You've got to assume that any insurance company is going to try to deny your claim. And then if they don't, be pleasantly surprised. But they are a for-profit business. They're not making all of the money that they're making by paying out on every single claim. So I would get that documentation. We will come out. We'll do a free inspection. We'll take photos of all the slopes. We'll chalk it. We'll give you a roof report. We'll review the damage with you, show you if there is damage. Sometimes we get hailstorms. Like I live in Corinth, and we've had several hailstorms. And in the last 7 years, I replaced my roof in 2017, but since then, we've had a lot of hailstorms come and go. And I've inspected my own roof plenty of times, and several of my neighbors, and they're fine. It just hasn't been, enough to do enough damage, and so. Um, that's what I would tell them to do immediately after the storm: inspect the damage, and then we are ex insurance adjusters, and so we're going to be able to tell you whether it's claim worthy or not at that point based on what we find.
So it's like the chicken and the egg thing.
Yeah.
Do we call roofer first or insurance first when a storm happens?
I would always have the free inspection done before you call insurance, because it's like you say, we inspect tons of roofs and tell the homeowner, hey, good news, you don't need to file a claim. And so if you've got that trusted roofer, or you've got a really trusted realtor that can refer a roofer or an insurance agent or what have you, um, get the inspection done first, and just see what you got.
I think that's important to do. And I'm glad you said get the inspection first, because you might have some water leaking that you don't see.
Yeah.
And that needs to be addressed quick, because insurance, you could file a claim. That doesn't mean they're out there immediately checking for leaks and things like that. They're not going to be tarping your roof and, oh, hey, we got this little water here. We need to seal this off real quick, and then let's move forward.
Wind claims too it's very difficult to get a whole roof replaced because of some wind damage. And so what you see right now with a lot of the tarping is, yeah, there was 4 or 5 or 6 shingles here and there ripped off by the wind. Well, that's an easy repair, and you go on. But if just back on the topic of filing claims, you're better off to file any claim as a hail and wind claim, not just a hail claim or not just a wind claim. That way,
Okay.
both types of damage can be considered as opposed to just one. And
Okay.
what we find is a lot of people will file the wind claim. They've got hail damage all over the roof that they didn't know about, and now the insurance company is only considering the wind damage.
Okay. Good advice.
One of the big things I see is people are completely unaware of what's in their insurance policy, or it comes up for renewal. and they just let it roll. There's a lot of assumptions, and for a long time in insurance, it was pretty safe to just be like, cool, I've still got my
Just renew
replacement
it.
cost policy.
Yep.
It's 1% deductible, whatever, and people don't really look at it. But there's been massive changes in the last year and a half, and you better know what's in there.
Yeah. 100%. Because I'm guilty of getting that renewal in the mail, and I open it up and I was like, oh, your policy's up for renewal.
Yeah,
All right, sounds good. Renew it.
yeah,
Not checking what the premium jumped up to. If they're adjusting my deductibles, is it a cost replacement now, or where they're prorating it or whatever you call it. I mean, that's you got to know that stuff. Are you underinsured? All of those things are factors in checking your policy.
yeah. I was way underinsured on my house, for example, but if your insurance comes up for renewal, or even if it hasn't, I would sit down with your agent and go, hey, let's review my policy. Let's look at it. What is my deductible? What is my premium? Do I have a replacement cost policy that pays to put the roof back like it is? Where with a replacement cost policy, you've got to bring your deductible to the table for a claim, and the insurance company pays the rest. That's replacement cost. That's what you want. Um, a lot of people's policies, because their roof is 10 years old or older, they've their insurance company has rolled them to an actual cash value policy or a scheduled roof replacement, where there's a table in your policy, and it says, okay, the roof is 14, 15, 16 years old. Follow it over to the right. Here's how much we will pay for your roof, and they're going to take your deductible out of that. So if they were going to pay $15,000 for your roof, they're going to take out your $8,000 deductible, and $7,000 is what you stand to get. So it's, I would ask your insurance agent to sit down and review your policy with you in person. And if they won't or can't do that, you probably need to look for a different insurance
I
agent.
agree. Anybody that won't take the time to explain the documents you're signing with them, that's a little bit of a red flag.
Yeah. One of the big functions of a realtor that's undervalued, in my opinion, is just that right there. They have all of these different types of tradespeople that they have to rely on and send out to do inspections, and like JD has us, for example, but that they spend years putting that list of people together and scrubbing it and making sure that the experiences for their customers are good. A lot of times they're using us for their own personal stuff, and so when a storm hits and you don't have somebody that you trust to do your roof, a lot of times a realtor like JD is a great resource, because he's not gonna stake his business or reputation on the back of some roofer that he doesn't really know. A lot of times the relationships, whether it's a roofer, a plumber, an electrician, those are relationships and contacts that he's built, or your realtor's built over years and years of experiences.
Yep. I often joke that I've got a list of great contractors. Well, on the back of mine, I got a list of really bad ones too.
Yeah.
Because I want to know, especially if I've got a buyer and the seller's like, "Oh yeah, we just had so and so come out and do this work," and if it's on my bad list, I'm like, "Ooh, I don't know. Maybe we need to look into that a little bit more." When I recommend somebody, I want to know, was it good or bad experience? Because if I start getting a couple of folks that said, "Ah, this is not good," I need to know, because they've changed their business model, their service level, something, and maybe they don't need to be on my list anymore. And I don't believe personally, for my business, having people on my list. They don't pay to get on my list. I don't allow any of them to send me a referral fee. I don't do it because I think lines get blurred. I'm recommending these people because I know, like, and trust them, and I know they'll take care of my people, not because they're going to send me a $200 referral fee or whatever it may be. I don't, I just don't want to do that.
Yeah.
It blurs lines.
And a lot of people want to, on the topic of like realtor commissions, that's a hot topic these days. And why
Yeah,
should
it is.
that you pay them at the time of a transaction that comes along with it that's free, is they have all of these vendors that they use for things. So when your roof gets crushed and you need a roofer and you don't know anybody, or you need a plumber, you need an electrician or whatever, at no cost to you, JD has this list of people that he's scrubbed, and he's not getting a referral fee. He's not taking anything for it, but they're a valuable really valuable resource to you at times like that when your roof is crushed and you know that you got to get a new one. Um, JD's going to be able to tell you, hey, I've got this vent, my house is flooded. We had an upstairs toilet, run while we were out of town over the weekend. He's going to be able to give you a go-to plumber that you can take it to the bank, whatever he says, and it doesn't cost you any money. But to me, that's reasons like that are why you pay when it's time to buy or sell a house, and you don't ask questions and you don't haggle with him. Uh, Realtors are worth their weight in gold if you've got a good one.
Yeah, and I'll say the same thing for any trade, any contractor as well. A lot of people do, associate. I don't talk to my realtor until it's time to buy and sell. My own mother, we were talking on the phone, and they want to do some huge renovations to their house. She goes, I don't know if I need a contractor first or a designer first or even who to call. And so I just told her, I said, Mom, call your realtor. They're
Yeah,
up in North Carolina. I said, call your realtor. He deals with these people all the time. You're telling me he's not going to have any kind of referral or know somebody that can and help direct you? Absolutely. He's your first call.
yep,
So,
that's good advice.
what's the best way to get a hold of you? Cell phone, email? What's the best
Yeah, the
for you?
best way is to call us at 972-754-7750. That's our main company line. But you can also go to our website, which is just feltzroofing.com. We have a calendar on there. You can schedule your own inspection.
Good stuff, man.
Yep,
I
cool.
appreciate you.